For ages, people have wondered if rich people are really different. Is there something that sets them apart from people who are poor? Is it the way that they think, or the way that they do things, or is it both? One of the biggest differences, quite obviously, is that they have far more money than the typical person. But this is the most insignificant difference when compared with all of the rest. For a very long time, people have assumed that the rich are different in terms of their personalities, and that this somehow gives them an advantage over other people. But the truth is finally in, and we have the answer regarding the personalities of the wealthy, and as it turns out, they truly are different. Researchers have developed something called the Big Five test, and it serves as an excellent way to determine the precise personality types of the rich. Now, the Big Five measures personalities based on 5 major traits, and these are conscientiousness, neuroticism, agreeableness, extroversion, and openness to experience. And after comparing the personalities of rich people with the personalities of poor people, researchers discovered that rich people tend to be more emotionally stable and less neurotic when compared with people who live in poverty. Now, they also discovered that the personalities of rich people tend to be particularly extroverted, which basically means that they are far more talkative and communication with other people comes naturally for them when compared with people who are introverted. Now, most people are on a sliding scale when it comes to being extroverted and introverted, and introversion causes a person to talk less and be more concerned with their own thoughts rather than external things, whereas extroversion is the complete opposite of that. People who have an extroverted personality pretty much means that they have a much easier time communicating with others, and talking with people comes naturally for them, which typically allows them to develop relationships with other people much more quickly than somebody who is introverted. And if you know anything about business and selling, extroversion definitely will make you a much better competitor in these areas. Now, the study also found that rich people tend to be open to new experiences, but more importantly, they're much less agreeable than their poor counterparts. In other words, rich people have a personality that causes them to be less likely to shy away from conflicts. So what this means in the real world is that they're more likely to fight for what they're worth or to get what they deserve in business or in something like sales. Rich people were also found to be far more diligent, meticulous, well-organized, punctual, and ambitious than those people who you would consider to be poor. Now, after they looked at the Big Five personality traits, researchers actually took the study a little bit further, and they tested rich people for things like internal locus of control and also narcissism. And some people will find these results pretty shocking, while others will just say, "I told you so." Now, what this study found was that rich people tend to be more narcissistic than those who are poor, and they also display a stronger internal locus of control. In simple terms, this basically means that wealthy individuals believe internally that they have the power to determine how their life plays out, while poor people, on the other hand, are more likely to believe that life simply comes down to dumb luck or fate. So it's true. Rich people really are more narcissistic than people who are poor, but it is important to note that narcissism, like all other personality traits, operates on a sliding scale, and a little bit of narcissism isn't necessarily a bad thing. Now, you could argue that all humans are narcissistic to some extent, but as is always the case, the thing that really matters is to what extent. In the same way that being a little bit narcissistic can give you a significant advantage in the dating world, being a little bit narcissistic when it comes to money can help you to negotiate better business deals and help you to get what you know you're worth. Now, something else that might surprise you is that most of the wealthy individuals who were interviewed for this study were actually self-made millionaires. This means that they started from the bottom and now they're here. And in case you were wondering, the poorest of those interviewed had a net worth between $10 to $30 million, and some were worth as much as $1 billion at the time of the interview. Now, one of the greatest takeaways from this study is that rich people are significantly more emotionally stable, meaning they're not very neurotic. And at the same time, wealthy individuals tend to be more extroverted, more conscientious, and at the same time, far less agreeable than your typical poor person. Being less agreeable is particularly useful because it allows you to break away from the herd and not be so easily influenced by other people who might not have your best interests in mind. This study of 130 rich people looked at the Big Five personality traits, but after they were finished with these, they took an even deeper dive further into the heads of these wealthy individuals and found several very interesting results. Now, according to the second part of the study, rich people are far more likely to be nonconformists, which means that they prefer to go against the latest trends rather than following them and doing what everyone else is doing. And this alone is significant because it allows them to avoid the herd mentality. Now, another very important finding is that rich people tend to make decisions based on their gut feeling, which means that they rely more on their intuition than they do on detailed analysis. Now, something else that the study found, and this is easily the most important piece to the puzzle if you're paying attention, is that those who have great wealth handle setbacks and defeat far better than most people. The typical poor person sees things much differently when it comes to setbacks, and what this person will do is take credit for any success that he has while blaming setbacks and failures on other things or other people. So for example, when a poor person starts a business and that business fails, he is more likely to blame external factors, such as the location of the business or some other thing for the failure. People who are incredibly rich handle setbacks in a very different way, and instead of blaming external things or people, wealthy individuals tend to look inside of themselves to find the cause of the failure. And this results in feelings of great power, because as long as you take responsibility for the failure instead of blaming it on external factors, you will have a much greater sense of control in your life and pretty much everything that you do. So instead of playing the victim and saying, oh, there's nothing that I can do, rich people take responsibility and think to themselves, next time, what can I do to make sure that this doesn't fail? In other words, rich people really do think, behave, and react differently than poor people. And this gives them significant advantages when it comes to not just making money, but in most areas of life. And as much as we all want to believe that personality is set in stone, the truth is that our personalities at any given moment are liquid, meaning they can be reshaped. Things like being less agreeable and changing the way that you react to setbacks are all skills that can be learned if you have the drive to succeed and the drive to become rich. I hope all of you guys enjoyed this one. I'm Julian, and until next time, thanks for watching.